Okay.
Yeah.
First and retirement fund?
Yeah.
Actually, Burston's the guy paying on the bill.
If you do, fine. If you don't, I'll try to remember it. He sent me something on it. I can forward it to you.
So I'm just grabbing, going into the unit book and saying, could it be? From me, and I said my husband.
Keeping things here. If you haven't paid, a couple people came up, need to pay. You can either see Chris. Chris, stand up so people know who to pay. Or Dave Burston after the program. I'd like to welcome everybody to John's retirement dinner. I'm dressed in black for a reason. Normally I don't care, but I'm just thinking about all the ISP personnel who's in mourning, or if they're not, they will be shortly when they realize that John is no longer here. So, excuse me a minute, that's over. How appropriate to have John's retirement dinner at the fairgrounds. All you have to do is look across the infield out here and see the stage there, and John made his reputation there. Big part of it, and it's not all good. Mary Ann, we're not that old. What we're going to tell you tonight is true. We're not, I know, he says it's going to be a lie, and it's not. It's true. And it's not exaggerated. We could all, about everybody in here could talk for 4 weeks without repeating the same story on John. But we're not going to do that tonight. I do want to make some introductions. The Dios, I learned that at Brooks Wilson's retirement dinner. This is the Dios. And it's French for we get to go through the food line first. Far in is Dave Burston. He's going to co-MC this with me tonight. Next to him is retired Colonel Don Brackman, Lieutenant Colonel Dean Petrie, Superintendent Mel Caraway, and our guest of honor. John's going to introduce his family and some special guests of his later on in the program. I do want to introduce the retirees. This is always my favorite part of these things. And when I say your names, you'll stand up. Now, if I forget anybody, I apologize here. Ernie Alder, Steve Bond. Did he stand up? Okay. Don Brackman, Mark Durnell, Tom Goebel, Dave Hart, Ray Hine, Bill Howard, Bob Olmsted, and Roar. Is Bill and Schmuddy's not here, or Paulette's not here? I haven't seen them. They were supposed to be here, okay. Marty recently retired, retirement party last night, Talbot. Vern Tincher. Bill Torrance, is he here? Don't see Bill either. Okay, Paul Weiler. Gary Wilkinson. And then out of alphabetical order, because they didn't let us know he's coming ahead of time, Mike Coles. My Jerry Owens. And Bud Monroe just walked in a few minutes ago. And J.D. Akers retired, but he came back, I believe.
Just stand up halfway?
Yeah, stand up halfway. Anyway, retired. Okay. Now, Burston did some of this to me here, so we want everybody to look at me and John up here at the picture now. We're going to do a little slide presentation and now wait a minute. It gets better. It gets better at this. Let me give you some scores here at Ball State. D, D, C, B, C, D, D, B, F, C, B, F, C, D, C, D. And then there's a note here. Now, I don't lie at these places. I'm ineligible to further attendance for 1 year because of poor scholastic records. So then he went back 2 years later. C, withdrew. C, now this C now was in, and it'd be here, anybody can look at this, badminton, bowling. B, F in baseball. F in football. Horsemanship, he had a C.
8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And then at the bottom it says ineligible to further attendance because of poor scholastic record. It's right there in black and white. That's all I'm going to pick on you tonight. No, let's see. They had that here. No, horsemanship was a C.
Oh, I didn't go to the final. I didn't.
He had 2 B's, 3 B's, and 2 of them were in leader lab, whatever that is. Okay, well, that's enough of that. Okay. John worked for Armour Dial before he came on the department here. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Dave, I'm sorry. This is the story of John, the man, the myth, the legend. And the reality, there it is. Okay. Sorry, Dave, I forgot that. I apologize. That's your polls about 90% of your career. That's what that is. Okay, next slide. He worked for Armour Dial. Oh no, okay, I got Joe and Joe company. All right, now we're ready for Armour Dial. Where you outstanding sales performance. That was in his. What do you call that thing? In a personnel file. He was also a bartender at Manor Plaza in Muncie. He worked at Glidden Paint Company, and then came on the department on April Fool's Day, 1972. It was a pretty thick personnel file, but I want you to pay attention. Now, these actually came out of John Wheeler's personnel file. This is an appreciation to Willard Cass. The next one is appreciation to Chris Garrett. But they're all in his file. That's why it's so thick. I didn't clean the rest of it, I just quit. John was promoted to PS4 in October of 87, first sergeant August of 1999, retired November the 5th of 2002. Okay, John was always a good dresser, as indicated here as a young child, that double breasted so shoe. He was always in physical fitness, even prior to college and in the state police. He was always interested in uniforms and guns. He had in his butt as a young kid either be a trooper or a cowboy. That's you. These are all you, John. Even when John grew up and decided to become a trooper, got water, those little hat on him there. And then when he got out of the department, he actually became a member of the school team. And I think he's the one who recovered that lid there, I'm not sure. So that was one of his biggest accomplishments in scuba. Going back a little bit to, John was kind of a laid-back kind of cowboy, though. And some things never change. There he is, kind of laid back, and we've seen this next one before. It just continues on and on. But in high school, John was actually the stud of high school. Check it out. And he kind of had that James Dean look. Look at the sleeves rolled up on his muscles. Sure had a button. Or a t-shirt that don't have any hair on his chest. Okay, and then in spite of popular belief, though, John did do some police work early in his career. He stopped a car once. And in spite of what, you'll have to tell the story later on about Trooper Trader, but the next one there, I think Dave Hart might have been part of that, but the next one, he didn't know what the radio looked like. I don't know if he knew how to use it or not, but at least he's acting like it. You know, the Oak Ridge Boys, Ann Murray, Barbara Mandrell, Dolly Parton, the Beach Boys, Neil Sedaka, Rick Springsteen, you know, Sean Oz not on here, Billy Davis Jr., Marilyn McCool's not on here. I was involved in those, so I know there's a lot more than this, but he was truly the trooper of the stars. And, well, here's one with him and Larry Turner, I think, and Reba, is that Reba? Reba. But then John, you know, I think his favorite star every year is Perry. He thought he was in charge of it the way he acted. So if you would, you just sit over here for a little bit. And one of his waitresses knows you so well, she made you this here to put on your head while you're here. Okay.
My sister's going to be really jealous.
Yeah. This is an email I got, and this is legit. It says, on behalf of William Lee Golden, Dwayne Allen, Richard Sturbin, and myself, Joel Bonsall, we want to congratulate Trooper John Wheeler, as well as thank him for his service to the great state of Indiana and the good old USA. We wish you well, sir, and we thank you for your years of friendship, as well as watching out for us at State Fair for all these years. May God richly bless you and your family, the Oak Ridge Boys. So that's an email. I can't see. Who's the other trooper?
That's Melvin.
Yeah, that's who that is. Yeah, those three guys.
Yeah, he worked for me.
He,
Everything he knows.
but then John also rubbed elbows with some politicians as well as singers and all that. Here he is with Dan Quayle, and that's Dave Kemper there, I believe. And then the next one here is with Gore. But John was always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Whenever the president came to town, he would get to work. In fact, here's John showing us where he worked with Clinton came to Indianapolis. So we thought they would let him work that. And he was also in the movie business. John got to work the Eight and Out with Charlie Sheen and John Cusack and Christopher Lloyd, and the Hoosiers with Gene Hackman, Barbara Hershey, Dennis Hopper, and Sheb Wooley. Now here's the trivia. What is Sheb Wooley known for besides being the Hoosiers? How many know? Raise your hand. Okay. Who wants to tell us? There you go. Sheb was the principal. Here's John with the sheriff of Hickory. And then this next one was the parade was getting ready to go from Hickory to Hinkle. Now, there's been a lot of rumor that John was in this movie, or supposed to be in this movie, and nobody believed him. Well, I got proof. So we'll do a little adjustment here, no spooch preaches. And here's the whole Hoosiers movie here. Just be patient with us a minute. And John had a big part in this movie. He was in it until it went back on the cutting room floor. There's Hackman and Hershey kissing. There's John. There it is. Got his boots and breeches on the car. And that's John's movie career. Now, John, he and I both worked that detail, and John tried to take care of me, and he tried to get me to play that part, and I'm not an actor. And the truth of the matter is that we tried to get those boots over my calves for about an hour, and it wouldn't work, so Skinny Legs had to be the star of the show. But anyway, there it is, proof that John was in the movie at one time. But in the end, John's main career was PIO, getting programs. And it's not easy standing up in front of a bunch of people talking. I can't do it really. Most of us can. But John was good at it. In fact, here's no. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe John couldn't stand up and talk in front of anybody either. We used to have these little slips you turn in, and I spoke today before 432 people, and that's people not care about his job. But anyway, he did it. And I picked on John, everybody's picked on John his whole career. But actually, John was a salesman before he came on, and he's a salesman now, and for 30 years he was a salesman for the Indiana State Police Department, even as a trooper. Wasn't much a trooper, but he was a salesman. But he did sell the department, and not too many people sold it better than him for the last 30 years, and that's a true and honest statement. He did make a lot of things. He got the life-saving award in 1998. I believe that was a heart attack. And another gentleman gave CPR, and he's out to the restaurant. And he really did make good friends with some of these groups. And probably his best friend, or one of the best, I think, is Bill and Gloria Gaither. I've got this bill here.
So I wish Gloria and I could be there with you tonight, but you and Marianne deserve that. I don't know whether she deserves your being home all the time or not, but I hope you have a good time tonight. Now that you're retired from the state police, you might really go with us and keep all of these people from trying to mob my body. I've been around now for 40 years in public arenas, and I was hoping somebody would mob me until now, but nobody's done it. But it's a great day. You deserve it, and have a good time.
Thank you, Mr. King. So, John really did make these friends and everything, and you know, the department and selling and PIO work and everything, but John's first love is his family, and that's obvious, always been obvious. And go ahead with that next slide. I think it's one along there. Oops. Okay, we're good here. Oh, wait, you're right. The video. I'm sorry. John put his daughter in movies. His only daughter, Jill. And we're going to see her here. That was also at Hoosiers. And I think I know which one it is, I'm not sure. Pause it right about there. I think it's the one there on the far left. Is that right? Yeah. There's Jill in the movie Hoosiers, but she's for the wrong team. But he tried to get her on the Hickory team, but it just didn't work. But there's Jill cheering for the South End team that lost in Hoosiers. And then the next slide, when we get to it, now we're going to take that. I'm sorry. I'm so glad that I don't know anything about that stuff. There we go. That's little Andrew, is that right? 1.5-year-old grandson. And I guess from what we hear tonight, there's another grandson / daughter on the way here, and so on and so forth. So John was pretty happy there. I don't know if that's before or after retirement, but he was pretty happy there. And with that part, I'm going to turn it over now for a little bit to the co-host here, Dave Bursky. And I'm not sure, I think I know what he's got. You want this thing?
I will read that, thank you.
John's writing notes. He's dyslexic, though, so he'll be able to read it.
That's what we're all counting on.
Well, I couldn't have done this without the help of Mary. Mary, where are you? There you are. Mary was very diligent at keeping track of all of John's video footage from when he was on the news. And I'll tell you, there was like 12 hours of tapes, and my eyes are still a little blurry. But the good news is we're going to keep it at 90 minutes. So. No, the good news is it's 20 minutes. So we've got some things here with John's grant. And keep in mind that these tapes, with one exception, I have altered nothing here. And Mary, I think you're going to be surprised that sometimes when you guys tried to record stuff, you didn't get the audio for what you were watching. And I thought a couple of things turned out pretty hilarious. I hope you all agree. So there's some verbiage that comes up on here, and it'll explain itself as it goes on.
Problems we've experienced since early morning hours, rocks being thrown at trucks up around the toll road area. We've had a bomb threat at a truck stop between here and Cincinnati. We've had trucks shot at in Bartholomew County. Supposedly we didn't find any bullet holes in the truck. Things of that nature. We're not looking for that much trouble, at least we hope not.
Trooper John Wheeler of the Indiana State Police, he was with us live now from I-70 and Emerson. Trooper Wheeler, the weather is a factor tonight, but what do you see in terms of truck traffic at this hour?
Truck traffic is limited right now, but that's due to rush hour traffic. We haven't really experienced that much difference as far as percentage of truck traffic here in central Indiana. Around Lake County, we had some problems.
We have heard tonight that some truckers are planning to blockade the fuel stops. Have you heard anything about that?
We've had rumors of that, and we're keeping our eye on it, but as yet, we haven't had any problem from that.
So far, it hasn't happened. What about truckers carrying weapons? Have you seen any of that?
Our officers haven't reported.
John never saw any. A little bit of it in one of the still photos. It's a bigger-than-life map of the great state of Indiana. I want you to get used to seeing this because you're going to see a lot more of it over the rest of this tape.
2 or 3 around the 88 and the 96, those have just been opened up, so 65's open. But then surprisingly, you get on down here around Seymour, and I just talked to the Seymour Post, they advised that it's only wet roads down in that area. Something we'd like to stress is please use the road and weather commission telephone numbers and not call in on the switchboard unless it's emergency calls. Because
warn motorists to stay off the road unless travel is absolutely necessary. For an update down on road conditions in Central Indiana, Channel 8 Special Traffic Reporter Ray Rice once again tonight is standing by live on the east side.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, let's take these folks to 52, in which much of the information concerning roads in Central Indiana passes. And with me again is Senior Trooper John Wheeler. Trooper Wheeler, perhaps we could start with some of the county roads and some of the trouble spots around Central Indiana.
trouble spot that radio just gave us, Ray, is up here around 465 on the north side of the city, on this little dog leg.
Those dashes between the barricades evidently caused yesterday's accident and scores of other accidents that have been reported here since bridge repairs began in this area back in February. We've observed the closed lane being crossed several times today. Construction crews and state police say it happens all the time, and it is several counters and confused motorists who are doing it. What causes it and what can be done about it? State Police Trooper John Wheeler, a spokesman for the department, is with us here live. Trooper Wheeler, what can be done about it?
Well, more frequent patrols. Arrests are up by 150. I looked at the statistics. It shows we made 150 more arrests on Interstate 65 downtown Indianapolis May, June this year compared to May, June last year. So we're making the arrests, but there's no place to sit over here without causing more of a problem. So about the only thing we can do is keep the marked cars flowing through with traffic as often as we possibly can.
After 4 drinks in only about an hour's time, radio personality Jeff Pigeon prepares to hit the road. Pigeon is driving at 30 miles an hour or so and has a difficult run on the 300-foot course.
Right. I'm only at .06.
Your body will only burn off approximately 1 drink per hour, 1 can of beer, 1 ounce of alcohol, 1 small glass of wine, etc. And if you continue to drink 2-3 drinks an hour, that is going to build up, as you can see, and your percentage, you're going to get up to that 10 very quick.
Wheeler with the state police, what is the snow emergency?
Well, that gives the sheriff or the police officers in that particular county the power to arrest somebody who is sightseeing, or if you're leaving your car parked. Normally we give you 24 hours, but with the snow removal equipment, we've got to get that off there as quick as possible. I just got fresh information. 31 is open now. It's not in the best of shape, but it is open. It's not classified as closed now.
So you, Sergeant?
Now, this next segment has nothing to do with the weather, and we can't get them away from the
You
media.
can tell us, Sergeant, how many extra officers are on the road this Labor Day weekend?
Statewide, we have 474 officers. Just in the Indianapolis area, we have 46 extra troopers for the 3-day holiday.
Okay, now you have several projects going on this weekend. One is just beefing up patrols, as you just said, but one project occurred yesterday, and it was supported by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Explain what that was about and what are the results of that?
Well, that was a project where we've asked everybody to turn on their headlights in support of not drinking and driving, not just the drunken driver, but just don't drink and drive. So all the troopers turned on their headlights in support of this. Volkswagen was supporting this venture, also helping MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Central Indiana. Today, we've called all of our state police posts around, and it seems like the only place that's reporting more problems than others is right in the center, from our Bremen post down through the Peru post.
I don't think we're ever going to get away from this map. John, why did you like that map so much?
I built it.
You built it, okay.
Couldn't wait till tomorrow morning. Can I get to Chicago or Fort Wayne, or the road's pretty bad up there?
A big problem if you're going up towards Chicago starts from Indianapolis up to Lafayette. From Lafayette on up, they're just wet. But we have an awful...
Let's get a break from John. Here's somebody we know.
People in their organizations drive out to Arizona, pick up the drugs, make the transaction for cash, and come back to the States. We also had an arrest earlier in 1989 where people from Arizona had come to Indiana to collect some money for a purchase of drugs.
Well, it sure was nice not seeing your face up there for a minute, John. It was a good break. But let's take a look at who else we have on the big screen tonight. So let's see what else is up here.
5 cars passed our unit.
That's what we're trying to attack. It's the fact that there is a non-compliance that is going on here in Marion County. Statewide, our compliance is within limits. But here in Marion County, it seems that there is a propensity for these individuals to get on that 465 and speed.
A fleet of 20 Camaros and 9 of those hot Mustangs will add an element of surprise to authorities this weekend. Project 55 is funded by a federal grant. Sergeant John Wheeler of the Indiana State Police joins us now to talk about Project 55. John, you just saw us here that almost 300 cars passed us while we were traveling 55. Has the problem always been this bad?
It's been that bad until we go into these streets. We have...
I cut him off because he's at that map too much. Now, here's a story. You know, everybody here knows John very well. You know what a hypochondriac he is. So here is Dr. John talking about radar guns and potential cancer-causing problems. So let's see what kind of words of wisdom that he gives our troopers.
Across that state are giving up the handheld and the dashboard-mounted speed radar detectors because they're afraid the detectors might cause cancer. Here at home, Indiana State Police are looking closely at this matter, but because our state police radars use a much lower power signal than many other police agencies, the concern here really isn't as great.
Our radar element is one of the weakest that you can possibly get. And again, we maintain the fact that we try and instruct our people not to point them directly at themselves for,
Good advice. Good advice.
So I'm Sergeant John Wheeler with the latest on road conditions. Sergeant Wheeler, good afternoon. How are you?
Just fine,
sir. All right, how are the roads right now? What have been the hardest areas?
I just called around the state to see what our problems seem to be, and it's actually everything is fine. From Terre Haute on I-70, they're telling me that those roads over there are still slick, and they're kind of...
finally,
So
the
far, so
last
Well, we've been
shot,
calling
the
around the
last
state,
one
my
you're
partner
gonna
and I have been
see
busy
on
calling
map.
all of our state police posts, but basically, let's start with the good. It sounds like the best roads, if you're trying to leave Indianapolis, would be taking I-74 west, because it sounds like
Well, we're away from the map one more time. John helping a stranded motorist only because there's a
Blair
camera
happened
there.
to drive
And
up
Blair,
on the
if you
scene
catch
and
yourself
took the
on fire, we
necessary
can-
precautions while High made repairs. He points out what High should have done.
to make this a little better, he should have been off the road, a couple of tires off the road, because he had a little gravel to work.
Heroism and bravery. That was a ceremony at the State House. Longtime veteran Sergeant John Wheeler was given the life-saving award. He saved the life of a Shelbyville businessman who was having a heart attack. Wheeler and another man performed CPR, keeping the man alive until an ambulance could rush him to the hospital. The man was so grateful he has now become active in providing heart defibrillators for police cars. 18 other people received promotions and are getting special recognition at that service.
He could have covered you up, couldn't he? The last thing we have, one of John's better events here. This was a 30-second commercial that aired for several months, and stars our guest of honor here. So this is the last part of the tape here. So enjoy.
Indiana, we've had it with drunk driving. It's a crime the state won't tolerate anymore.
We're sick and tired of the senseless injuries and death.
I was at this accident, and I don't want to be another one like it. You are going to lose your license, and you are going to go to jail. And it's going to cost you plenty. When we pull you over, you better be sober.
You could have been an actor, because I know you wouldn't hurt a thing. There it says on the screen, happy retirement, sell a lot of cars. You got a grandson that needs to be spoiled, and apparently you're going to need to sell a whole lot of cars because you've got the second one on the way. So congratulations. And I'm going to turn it back over to Tim.
Where did we get those 400 some odd troopers from around Marion County? Did that include St. Louis and Chicago? I mean,
Kind of like your stories.
oh, yeah, kind of like my stories. Okay, I'm going to, probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. Does anybody have anything they want to say? I've got a couple presentations. Okay, we got this gentleman here, Bill Howard. Hang on just a second here. Come back here, or, okay, let me get my stuff out of your way here.
John, you don't have these cheaters, do you?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Right here.
How many of you, throughout the exposition of information here, believe that John is truthful? I remember John in high school. My wife does too. And I can remember when John used to, I don't want to use the word flout, abstract. Anyway, he sure liked a special car. But I want to talk about his physical capabilities. John was so truthful that he tried to get the state police to be truthful his way of thinking. Remember that, John?
Go on.
He rode with me a couple, 3 times or so, and it seemed like he wanted to change the height dimensions. Well, what he wasn't for. I did a little figuring here. He was trying to get along with having the state police take him in with a height of 1.752 meters. Well, he was short just about 3 hairs. And I understand the personnel person had the same pencil that ran between the scale bar and his, well, thin hair. And he says, young man, this pencil's gone through about the 3rd time now. Well, John got to working. And the first thing you know, he did some stretching exercises. And one time he rode with me, he says, Trooper Howard, he says, I think I'm going to make it. He says, I measured myself, had a doctor measure me, and I'm 5'9". Remember that?
Yes.
Kind of came back and haunted you a little bit, didn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, thanks for your time. It's good to see the old timers here.
There used to be a height requirement, and it was 5'9". John put on his application 5'9.5", and I'll show you that too. Greg, would you?
Something about John.
Keep it to an hour or so.
Right. I had the privilege of breaking John in when he became a trooper in 1972, I believe it was, April. I think that's when you come on, Terry.
Nice. So Ray, you're saying it wasn't all his fault?
Well, it's part of it's Tim's fault, and John Bailey and a bunch of them guys. We really got a bunch of really good troopers in 1970. Regardless of that, I've known John for probably 30 years. I've been personal friends with him. I've been to his home. I congratulate you, John. And I'd just like to know how in the hell one guy could get on TV that much. You know, I was on 25 years, and everybody, a lot of the guys here had been. So regardless of that, that was his job, and he did a hell of a job at it. Thank you.
Leon?
There are parts of that story that I truly, really want to believe. I don't. John was a PIO person before they got all to be sergeants. And John would come into my office when I was the first sergeant there, when I really wasn't the boss, but I was just held accountable for everything and everybody did. And John would come in there and he would whine and cry and carry on about not having a gold badge.
Goble had one.
And he would mention that also. He didn't have one. And so one Friday he was there at the post, and I said, well, would you give me your badge for the weekend? And he said, yes, he would. And so I took his badge home, and I made a mold in some clay, and I got some gold rub and buff from American Art Clay, which supported my wife's family for years. And I mixed up some fiberglass, and I made him a gold badge. And I told him I never wanted to hear about that again, because he now had a gold badge, and if he wanted to wear it, that was on him. But he had one. And then sometime after that, he did get one. And I will say one thing about John. The state police has many career paths available to people. You can be a pilot, you can be a detective, or you can be in administration or whatever. And John is a salesman, and I spent some time talking to him one night down in Seymour. I was down there doing an internal. I hated those things. But we were just sitting there talking, having coffee, and John mentioned that that's what he did for a living. And John was a good salesman for the state police. I don't think John ever did anything intentionally to make the state police look bad. He always put a good effort for us. And of all the PIO people I've known, John was probably the best at the job. He could sell the state police to anybody. He could probably go to Miami Valley Correctional Facility and get those people to back the state police. I think he could do that. So he's a good salesman, and he's always been a good representative, and I'm proud to know him, and I was proud to have him work with me and for me and all that stuff when he was there. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. Is there anyone else? Oh, mine. Anna, are there any more comments? Yes, ma'am.
This is Trooper Howard Fly.
Yes.
And I'm with Melwood also. And when John became trooper, Bill came home and told me, yes, who's new trooper? I said, I'm John Wheeler. I said, you've got to be kidding me. I just wanted to let you know.
We did the same thing with preschool, when they didn't name his name. But to leave, it says, Wheeler's there, you gotta be kidding me. Yes, ma'am? you want to come up here, Jim?
I just want to say something, and that is the maps. I never realized I've seen all, I'm John's daughter Jill, by the way, and I've seen all these clips through the years and never realized his obsession with maps. But as his daughter, I do know it. He drew a picture, a map of the fairgrounds for me tonight. Every time, I lived in Indianapolis for years, and every time I go anywhere, he draws 465 for me, 70, 69, every interstate, and we have the map at home where he'll take you to it. And while you're around it, I think he misses it a lot. I've always been proud to
Well,
see
Jill,
the state police.
we've got it resolved. Mary Ann. This is you, John. It's wallpaper. You can put it in your bedroom at home tonight. And show Mary Ann where Jill is.
Mary, what I want you to do
By the way,
is...
the entrance to 38th Street is closed.
I put that on the ceiling of our bedroom, but there's already a mirror out there. Mary, this coming fall, the first winter storm, I know John's going to miss it, his first winter not on the department. Just put this up somewhere and put up a kid's camera, just something that looks like a camera, and let him talk about the weather.
Yeah. Okay, I believe that Ernie Alder has a presentation.
John, don't feel bad about the picture deal in the desk drawer. I did that with Colonel Hollingsworth's picture every morning. I love that. John came out to help with youth services just before he retired. I'd heard about you a lot, John, as everybody has. I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. And John called me in his office out there. It's about, 8 foot square or something like that. And it did have a computer in it. He didn't know how to work it. But he said, Ernie, I need to tell you right off the bat that I'm dyslexic and I'm a slow learner. I said, John, you're going to work out fine here. A few days later, I came in to see John about something to do with the camp. Did I ever thank you for that, Superintendent? I said, where's John? The girl there said, he's down in Shelby County giving a camp program. A few days later, I was back and said, where's John? He's down in Shelby County giving a camp program. You were running for office, I think. You come back and see those kids in about 20 years, maybe they'll vote for you. Good man. I enjoy John. I got him on a musical instrument one time. There's only 2 guys in the department I ever really took for any amount of money, and John was one of them. And I figured that was quite an achievement. So, but I apologize for it, John, but I'm not giving you any money back. I'm representing the Indiana Troopers Association and proud to do so. And John's been a member. I argued he hadn't been a member for 5 years, but they told me I had. So that qualifies you for life membership, which means you don't have to pay that big annual due fee of $20 anymore. You can claim $75 worth of medical expense. It won't cost you a dime from now on. And I present you with a plaque to John Wheeler. Appreciation of your 30 years of service to the Indiana State Police Department. For being a good member of the ITA, we appreciate it, John. Great to know. And I have a letter here from our president, Dwayne Davies, and it starts out, Dear John.
Keith Gill has a presentation.
Okay, well, you still get tickets.
John, if you would, we've got some, yes, John's been a loyal member of the Alliance also, and I think those of you that were there last night, what they said about Marty Calvert is true. He's going both ways, ITA and the Alliance both undoubtedly. But for John's wife, right off the bat, I know the superintendent has some awards, and I kind of do this too. But we have a retirement check for you, but I'm giving that to your wife. Because after all, you have the big money job now, and she has to wait on you hand and foot. I know how, that's what you've always told me, so this will help. It's in his name. She signed it. John, also for you, we have our retirement package, if you'd step up here. Got our coffee mug. I know you've given plenty of those away over the years, probably not ours, but other coffee mugs.
Time now to drink.
Yeah, that's right, okay. One of our wristwatches and a lapel pin for you, John. And you've seen lots of pictures of John. I don't know if you've seen this one of him. This is a lithograph that the next thing is made out of. John with his smiling, happy face. No map. But also, John, the thing that we like to do, and we've been doing this, is the walnut plaque. It's got your likeness on it. It's got your badge number 138 from when you retired, with the quote, the famous quote we all know, the strength of the department lies in the character of its people. And this is Mr. Character here because he was a good salesman for the state police. First Sergeant John R. Wheeler, PD 2451, appointed 4172, retired 11502. From the Indiana State Police Alliance. John, I take personal pleasure in presenting this to you. Thank you.
You can sit in your chair, I just. Okay, Colonel Petries has a presentation.
Mary Ann, if you would please. Before I present this to you guys, there's a few things I want to say about that. Major Hardy and I were talking earlier if anybody wanted to talk or say anything in regards to John's career in the department. I had a few stories that I was going to tell, and then I decided that John may come to my retirement party, so I better not tell you some of the things that I could. What I can tell you, and I can say this without reservations, I think I know as much about Mary Ann and Jill as probably anybody in this room. John worked for me for a number of years, and there were very few days that John didn't come in and talk to me and tell me what was going on in his life. And I can tell you this, I know a few people that I worked with over the years that think any more of their family than John Wheeler does. And I can tell you again, without any reservations whatsoever, if anybody is devoted to his family, John Wheeler is. And the family is what makes the Indiana State Police. Several years ago, the superintendent decided that we need to recognize the person that was the most important part of the state police family, and that was the spouse of the police officer or the civilian employee that was working for the department. Were it not for 32 years of commitment to John while he was on the department, we would not have gotten from John what we did. It is with a great deal of appreciation and sincerity that I have and the pleasure providing with the superintendent's signature on this certificate of appreciation. Mary Weaver for 32 years of commitment to the Indiana State Police.
When they found out here at the fairgrounds that John was retiring, he had lots of tapes and songs and everything he'd written over years ago, all these stars and everything. And the stars, when they drop them in a box on the way out, and they gave them to me on the way in. I'll give these back to you, John. I couldn't let it pass. Earl Bracken.
Thanks, Tim. John, you want to step up here a minute, partner? I got to meet John, I think, during the state fair, early years of state fair. And we didn't really work together out there, but we were assigned the same detail. And I'll say one thing about John Wheeler. I like being around John Wheeler. And I think everybody here would agree with that. John Wheeler was a person that you liked being near. I mean, he was always upbeat about things. He knew everybody. I mean, he knows everybody. And you could be talking to John about something, and you say, yeah, I'm looking for this, and John would know exactly who to get a hold of, and he was a great person to know. But John Wheeler really, really did promote the Indiana State Police. I mean, he was really good at it. And he was a good salesman, as everybody said. And he came to the Bureau of Criminal Investigations when the superintendent had re-engineered that portion of the agency. And the superintendent and I were talking about this being a new structure, and not only would take a little time for the people in the agency to get used to, but certainly the people outside the agency. And the superintendent said, we really need someone to market this thing. I said, yeah, I really need somebody in here that can work directly with me to get out the word about what you've done here. And John Wheeler's name came up with the superintendent. And the superintendent said, John will do a great job. And John did. John came in and he was exceptional in going out and talking about what the department was about and the changes being made in the agency. And I really enjoyed working with John, and he went out and helped us out at the youth services for a while, and never complained about that. And I consider John a friend. I had a chance to talk to him a couple of times since he's been retired. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it, the last words I'll say here, John Wheeler is fun to be around. I like being around John. And John, it's with a great deal of pleasure that I present you with your retirement badge, and good luck to you, buddy.
John, and I got your CD number on.
Can't see.
You want my mic?
Yes.
Superintendent?
Uh-oh. Some secrets should be left. Secrets, you know. I got to meet John. I really don't remember when first met, but I remember a lot of John Wheeler stories. Our most significant, I guess, meeting was at the state fair when working with him, escorting a lot of the entertainers around the state fair. And it was one of those jobs where people really got pretty jealous of the fact that you were having that responsibility. I remember them asking, I don't know who the individual was with you at the time, but he said, John Wheeler needs help around getting the entertainers around Indianapolis. Who knows Indianapolis? And I said, hey, I know Indianapolis. I can do that. And very shortly, John Wheeler got sick. He was, and what Tim said about the hotel room was really, really right. We had a nice little room. It was a small suite. We had a pretty big room, John. Down at the Stofers. It used to be a Stofers there, right up on the top floor. It was sharp. It was pretty neat. And I can't think of any other site, you know. I enjoyed just watching John pick his guts out there on the side of the bed. And he was sick as a dog. I just recall that more so than anything. And he was so worried about how he was going to do with his escorts, you know. John, I know Indianapolis, I could handle it. It wasn't that big a deal. If they found out how easy this job was, you would That's what I think that's probably what he's so more concerned about more than anything. John has turned out to be an extraordinary individual for the Indiana State Police. You know, John, a lot of people ribbed you about, the things that you did, but honestly, there's really a lot of jealousy going on about that. John knew all the people to call for whatever. I mean, he could find car parts. He could find tickets to lots of things. He could find individuals who were willing to donate food and gifts and anything to the Indiana State Police. It's just that he was actually the Riley Mash for the Indiana State Police. He was just that good at doing those types of things. I do recall, however, John Wheeler being quite nervous under some circumstances. Colonel Brackman got up here and told him how wonderful it was for him to be there. But I can tell you sometimes that John was very, very nervous about walking into that office on occasions.
What the hell's Wheeler?
Is he mad at me? I mean, it's been really kind of screwed up if he comes to the superintendent to ask us the colonel on his name. Is he mad at me? What should I go in and say to him? It was kind of crazy. And John did help me out quite a bit as well. We've had quite a few trips taken on the road since I've been superintendent. John has been with me. And John knows every subject. He will talk you to death. No. Okay, he will. He'll talk that shit out of you. But it was good. It was okay. I've heard all the stories about you, Jeff, about you and the cars and all the things you guys did. I heard all about you, Jill. I've heard all about the things down at, what's the park down there in southern Indiana. I've heard all things. Mary, I think you've sung every song that you've ever written. I have heard them all. He is so very proud of his family and the talent that you guys have. It's extraordinary. I mean, he just loves that to death. Recently John had embarked on something quite extraordinary in his life. It wasn't enough just to be a trooper for the Indiana State Police, being responsible for the public information office of the agency. I mean, that's a big deal, Gogol and Steve Hillman, and Scott, and all those guys. I mean, that's a very big task that you have to do. But he decided to embark on something a little different, and certainly Representative Tincher would understand this quite well. Deciding to run for office, not an easy thing to do. His heart was certainly in it, and it showed. Unfortunately, he was not elected, but it really demonstrated that John had more than just being a public information officer. That John had more in his heart than just being a trooper. It was always about the one thing that we all in this room know, and that's being of service. And John was finding a way in which to do that. Now, I know you're working with Steve Bond, and I understand that...
With? Four.
Oh, well, okay, whatever.
He works at the crap out.
Whatever.
I come back to work.
Let me finish. Working with Steve and all, and certainly I know you're having a wonderful time and the opportunity to again to be of service to people. In just this short time that we're sitting up here talking, he wasn't talking about how much money he was making, but how much he was helping others in purchasing automobiles. Now, if that's not a first for me, I don't know what is. But if anybody can do it, it's John Wheeler. And I'm so very proud to present to him this retirement plaque, this resolution from the Indiana State Police. He's been a great friend, a wonderful gentleman, and he loves his family, and he's always loved the Indiana State Police. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome. And I'll let you know if Brackman's upset with you. Well, I think before I say some a couple of other things, I know it's getting kind of late and everybody wants to go home. I started wearing glasses here kind of recently, realizing that after turning 30, you have to wear glasses. One of the things that goes along with this job is sometimes being ever so present in the public eye. I just want to give one bit of advice to all of you. If anyone ever asks you to put your face on a gas pump, tell them no.
He really does have teeth. We weren't jealous of his job. And I'll let JB, how many entertainers show up to the fair every year? 3? Maybe 4 nights?
Hundreds.
3 or 4 nights. It goes from Wednesday through the whole week and the following Sunday, so there's 10, 12, 14 days, and he worked 3 nights. That's what we were jealous of. The other 10 nights, he was nowhere to be found. John, it's your turn.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. Drive carefully.
God, I love being the center of attention. Showing all the, you know, people say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. But actually, I did pick my family. As I look around the room, and when I picked my wife, asked her to marry me 38 years ago, I also picked the family. And would my family please stand up? All of you at the table, if I've got any others around there. Mary's sister and my brother-in-law, Mary's brother, Jimmy and Debbie, and then my son-in-law, Jeff, which I can tell you, I could not have picked out on a computer somebody better to be with my daughter. I feel so lucky. Sit down, people, it's good. Again, though, I am such a lucky guy. I cannot think of anybody any luckier than I am. For the Mary and Joe get mad at me, and on my campaign I used to say this. I am the poster boy for Joe Average. I was never the captain of the football team. I wasn't the straight A student. Jeff knows that. I copied off of him just about everything. Then I even copied off my sister-in-law in a college class. That's the one class that, didn't I get a B in that? C?
You lost your book after the first class.
Psychology.
Yeah.
We did well in that. But as I said, I picked my family, and I love them very much. And thank you all for coming. You're all here. And then you talk about your friends. I've got all of you. You just make me feel so good this whole night. Being here, I said to David, I originally was going to use the Ford Union Hall in Judd's at first, and it was in the back of my mind. And then David said, what about the State Fairgrounds? And I said, God, State Fairgrounds or the 500 track, those are the two places I always look forward to, getting out of that rough routine that I was in. So I could come out and, you believe that, don't you guys? Okay. But my friends, I've got my old Elwood cronies that, I've been around forever. Edie, Andy, Jerry, Jeff. Stand up, guys. Those are my extended family. Jeff is like my brother. Jeff's mother and my mother were friends, so they brought us as babies up together. Thank you, guys. And then back in the corner back here where he always hides, and he was kind of like the puppet master over me when I was with Armored Dial. It's my old boss, Steve Sullivan, his wife, Mary, who he's one of the brightest businessmen I've ever known. About him. Some of his marketing ideas and selling ideas that he really helped me out a ton to learn some different things. And Bill Howard.
I can say some more.
Oh, Bill Howard. What can I say? He was the trooper that was, him and Howard Bach were the two. I don't know if any of you guys remember old Howard Bach, but they were the two that, and they were the different sides of the pendulum. Howard kind of liked the slush a little bit. He was Mr. Straight, just straight as an arrow and everything, doing everything could be. I sold him a box of train equipment one time, that my dad had in his store, going around his little grocery store. And I was really, I thought, I've slipped it to this trooper, I gave it to him for little or nothing, and, I really, I got a friend now in the business. So I'm driving Dad's big old Cadillac to Marion to pick up some stuff, and the red lights got me. And I thought, oh, God. So all of a sudden, this man walks up the side, and so official, he's got the book, says, may I see your driver's license, registration, please? So I gave it to him, I looked down his bill. So he explained to me what I'd done wrong and all this. He wrote me the ticket. He said, will you please sign here? And I said, that doesn't know who I am. So I signed the ticket, and he ripped it out and gave it to me, explained everything I had to do. The business was over with. All of a sudden he looked at me and smiled and he says, hey, he says, thank you for that train deal. He says, that stuff is really nice and good. But I made up my mind right now that right then, he was a straight shooter. He was a good guy, and he worked hard at his job and tried to represent the things. And I look around him and Hein, you should never have let me eat sweet and sour pork. I mean, geez, that was April the 1st. No, it was April the 6th, and that was the first ride I'd been in a patrol car, actually working in uniform, and I do have a weak stomach, I guess. Guys, penitentiary, all the things you've done for me, the year of, and that was a hell of a year. Everybody should do that so you can respect how hard these people work. I told Mel earlier, I said, I really was thinking of that job as being 4 months, and you collect that nice check, and then you're off the rest of the year to play golf. It don't work that way. They're, 2 years at a time, you're always campaigning, always doing all this. My opponent was the one that was killed in the car accident the other night. And Mr. Stein is a fine man. Matter of fact, they asked me, called me and asked me what I thought about the situation. I said, what I look for in a politician is, I look for honesty, intelligence, and somebody that's got some feeling in the heart. And I said, this man had all three. And I said, if I wouldn't have been running against him, I would have voted for him myself. And he was that kind of a guy. He was a great guy. And we're going to miss him down in Shelby County. But I could go around and everybody in this room, there's some story and something that just, fascinates me. And I got to say this. We all know how close the superintendent and I are. He does everything I say. I mean, but Turner, I don't know what's happening with Holland. I've just, I'm trying to get you that job, but it's just something that, I even talked to one of the cooks about slipping Holland something. So possibly he can get out of here and we can go on down the road. No, these guys really took good care of me when I went up to BCI. Especially, they were good to me. These two down here, I thought, shoot, won't be long, I'll get promoted. All of a sudden one day, Brackman walks in, throws some books on my desk. He says, read these, memorize this, you're going to take some tests. And it was on investigations. Hell, I never investigated anything. I didn't want to do that. I tried to complain, didn't do me any good. I had to take the damn test. I'm glad I did. Had a lot of fun up there. I worked for a lot of superintendents. I started under Conkle, who was, the great legend, and had a few in there. But, I like Larry Furness. Two of my favorites, Larry Furness and without a doubt, the last man. Here I got a Democrat and a Republican. I'm an equal opportunity lawyer here. But both of them, I think, I'd like for Furness to have a little longer to try and do some of his ideas. And I hope you have a good long life, sir, to continue some of the ideas that you want to get. And I know that during these trying times that you don't have the finances, you don't have the manpower to do the things that you've told me you want to do for the troops. I know he's got it in his heart, I know he's got it in his brain to do as much as he possibly can for the Indiana State Police. And I can say nothing but thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you've done for me. And both these guys said, at this thing, what can I say? When I picked out the people to run this show, I thought, I want my old classmate, and I want the new. And David, without a doubt, is the new, and you guys have done a fantastic job. Everything you've laid out here, all the different things, it's super. You just have made me feel so good. I just want to make sure there's nothing that I was getting down here on my notes that I didn't skip out on somebody that might have slipped something off on me. I don't know here what we've got. You know, I learned early in my career one thing, and I guess this has come out quite a bit. You got to be true to yourself. I found out I wasn't the best trooper on the road. There was a lot of things I didn't do as well as some of the other guys. I found out what I really was good at. I was good at selling what the other troopers were doing. I was good at telling, you know, what they were doing and trying to make us the very best. I felt good about what I did, and I felt good about myself doing that. Except for one night I was in a barber shop. I was probably off duty because I never got my hair cut, Rick, when I shouldn't. But I was sitting there in the barber shop, and this is earlier in my career, and I came on a race thing. And then a little bit later I came on, and it was something to do with traffic conditions. And then there was a burglary investigation. And I swear to you, this one old farmer sitting there, and he says, "Boy, we got to get you some help." He says, "You're doing everything out here." I said, "Yes, sir, you're right." I cut my hair for nothing that day. Hey, I know you're all tired. It's a long night. It's Saturday night. Everybody wants to get home. Jill, Jeff, I love you. Mary, I love you. Thank you, everybody, for everything. I know that I could go around the room and mention a particular story about everyone here, but you don't want me to do that. And thank you. I love you all.